All right, so now people are trying to talk up Civil War talk again, this, that, the other. Why won't there be like a active Civil War? Because Americans pop trunks. Have you ever talked to a European about the difference between having a night out here than in Europe? If something happens, what does the American do? He reaches for his waistband or he goes to pop the trunk. He goes and gets his friends. They go to the car to pop the fucking trunk. So, you never really get a good solid scrap. For all the MMA gyms, for this, that, and the other, Americans are notorious for shockingly dishonorable hand-to-hand combat in comparison to, say, soccer hooligans. That they have shown up to play soccer, drink beer, and fight. And look good while doing it. Americans kind of don't do that. Sort of black people do, except black people, unfortunately, have become an increasingly notoriously dishonorable people who will always nog stomp anything that starts approaching the ground from the opposite team. So you never really get to scrap with anybody. They never really show their hands. There's always 4-on-1. There's always, it's always, I'm going to hit you with something. It's never, I'm going to scrap with you straight on. I don't like you. And now it's time to scrap. Which used to be the way it went. But a long time ago. Even by the time I was a teenager, you just didn't expect that. You expected to get jumped by blacks. That it was always more than them, fewer of you, because that's just the way that they are. So there's this misunderstanding about what a civil war would be like, because in all combat, the issue is defense. See, you would have people endlessly loyal to resisting this has already been proposed. This is the setting of cyberpunk, like the video game. Okay, at the very beginning of all of it, in Cyberpunk 2020, right before that setting, the government is taken over, they say, by the Gang of Four. And the Gang of Four, CIA, FBI, the Department of Army Intelligence, and the NSA. And that's where we are. We are at that stage, that they are pretty much running things. There's some cabal or cadre of extremely disloyal people who are pulling the strings, and that's how they're pulling the strings. And so the idea, though, is what ends up happening is it's not like these four organizations take over in some way that's super awesome. The way that the story goes, it's Cyberpunk 2020, that everything that happens is it falls apart, and the United States separates into sections, and the government can't do anything about it. And literally, the government sits there with military equipment and doesn't do anything. That's a major part of the Cyberpunk 2020 story, that as all this crazy shit is building up, it's eventually that there's a giant corporate war in the streets, and that these corporate wars are what then make the United States clamp down totally and completely at that stage. So it's never that there's really a civil war based on on ideals. Now, what am I thinking is going to be the big thing? The Democrats are basically going to resist getting the immigrants back out. They're going to make it this holy cause, and they're going to make it a cause that they and they alone can be violent. They can do violent things. They can get the migrants to riot and storm things and cause scenes and try to get reactions from the police and this, that, and the other. That's what they're going to do as soon as we try to get them out. That's what's going to happen. These people will gin up chaos, and a lot of black Americans need to get. You're going to see a lot of activists who aren't black in your cities. They're all going to wear the same T-shirt. They're all going to be talking to the migrants. They're all going to be able to speak Spanish. They're all going to be white because black people don't learn Spanish, and so you're going to be seeing them in Manhattan, you're going to be seeing them in Brooklyn, you're going to be seeing them in all these places that they're going to start moving these immigrants around. And then when the time comes, the immigrants are going to start getting rowdy. And you're going to be, oh, they can't leave. Look, they're so angry that they got to leave. And you're all going to think, oh, they got you. They got you, Black America. They fucking got you with this illegal immigrant thing. None of you saw this coming, and the right totally did. The right totally did. The deep right, we knew this was something like this was coming. Nobody on the conservatives, the standard pleated chinos kind of guys, they didn't see it coming. You know, that's why they're kind of like, I don't know, Tucker is a little over the top sometimes. But that's how I figure. And it just doesn't make sense. I think it's just the media kind of thinks of civil war as something sexy, or something. I don't know what the fuck. Because it comes down to they don't have the man timber on the left. And their women aren't built for it. That's why, for there to be some kind of civil war or something like that, you would have to have a population built for that kind of suffering. The left cannot suffer. They definitively are people who cannot suffer. They're not made for that. They're not made for sacrifice and suffering. That's like religious people. Like, that's the right. That's the country boys. The country boys will survive. So there won't be a civil war because you need supply lines. You need logistics. You need all these things. And then you need eyes on the territory. That's not a left thing. That's not Democrat. The Democrats can't do that. That's not their thing. They don't think like that. You can't adjust their thinking like that. There's a handful of communists that think like that, and gang members, but that's the thing. And so in Cyberpunk 2020, what ends up happening with this supposed civil war? Okay, so the United States gets taken over by its intelligence agencies in the Cyberpunk 2020 storyline. And the intelligence agencies merge with the criminal syndicates. That's how Cyberpunk 2020 world becomes Cyberpunk 2077. This is why there won't be a civil war. Because it's that critical decision. You either merge with these syndicates or you're your own power. And then the syndicates want your power and the people don't like that you're running the country now. And that's because the people won't. Nobody's sitting there thinking, I can't wait until the NSA openly runs all communications. I can't wait till the FBI openly runs who's allowed to do what and where. Nobody's thinking that. So that's why, to some degree, there isn't a possibility of the Civil War, because there's not really people that can openly say they want to be controlled by a secret police, unelected secret police, or like kind of fake elections while everything's run by the unelected secret police. And that's the option. That's what somebody would have to, if they're like, oh, the Civil War is here, that's what the side they would have to be on. So that's why I have some more thoughts on it. I have to think it through.